To understand the origins of cryptocurrencies, let's go to the beginning. Bitcoin. Bitcoin was invented in the year 2008 by this anonymous person called Satoshi Nakamoto. In the year 2008, he brought out a white paper for the entire cryptographic community. A white paper is like a research paper which talks about the concepts, which talks about a new idea and how do you use that idea in a simple fashion. So when Satoshi Nakamoto brought out a white paper in the year 2008 saying that he can change the entire financial system, people laughed at him. But after reading that white paper, people understood that yes, this could actually change the entire world in a very drastic fashion. So Satoshi Nakamoto says that he has invented a new decentralized, without any third-party intermediary, peer-to-peer network for cash payments. What does that mean? What does peer-to-peer network mean? Peer-to-peer is from person A to person B, and he wants it without any intermediary. To truly appreciate what he means, let's understand how the current financial industry works. Today, if I want to send money from person A to person B, one, I need to have money printed by the central bank. So the central bank is the first intermediary. Second, I need to have an account with a retail bank, such as the State Bank of India, the Bank of Baroda, etc. The other counterparty should also have a retail bank account. Third, I can use a third-party intermediary such as Paytm, Google Pay, etc. to use my money in the account to send it to another person. So basically there are 3-4 intermediaries over here. Person A, that is me, a third-party intermediary, a retail bank connecting to a central bank, then a retail bank, then an intermediary, then the other person. So when I need to send something of value from A to B, I need to go through so many different layers. So when Satoshi says that you don't need these third-party intermediaries and you can send value from person A to person B directly, just like how you can send emails. Just like in the olden days, if I have to send a letter to somebody, I use the local post box, the post office, the federal post office, and then I need to send a letter through them. But with the internet, I can send an email to anybody without the government's intervention. So in a similar way, Satoshi Nakamoto says that if I want to send value, if I want to send some kind of money, monetary value, I should be able to send it directly from one person to the other person without involving so many intermediaries in between. That was a very powerful concept, and he published this in the year 2008. The timing is extremely important. In the year 2008, there was the global financial crisis. The global financial crisis were where these large banks across the world were a part of the subprime mortgage crisis. Take a look on that later. In the subprime mortgage crisis, a lot of banks lost a lot of money and they became bankrupt. For this, since they were too big to fail, what the governments across the world, the US government, the UK government, etc., so what they did was, they took the taxpayers' money, that is your money and my money, and then they used that money to bail out private banks. So the US government did the same, the UK government did the same, and this became a huge issue because the private banks use this extra money to give themselves bonuses, to give themselves profit. And this act by the central banks, by the governments, made the common man very angry. This also led the discussion to why do we need a central bank. The central bank, what they do is, they print the monies and they distribute the money. Both of these activities can be done by anybody else, is what the cryptography community thought. As of today, any central bank can print as much money as possible. Let's try to understand the economics behind it. In any kind of economic activity, you have supply and demand dynamics. If the supply is too high and the demand is too low, the value, the price of that underlying asset reduces. If the demand is too high, if the supply is too low, the value of that underlying asset increases. So with the central bank, if they have the power to print as much money as possible, you can increase the supply as much as you want and the value of, say, the dollar, the rupee, the yen, the yuan, the value of the currency itself reduces, which has been happening in the real world. Today, 100 rupees is not the same as the 100 rupees which was 30 years ago. 30 years ago, with the same 100 rupees, you would have bought many more items than the same 100 rupees which you can buy today. The value of the rupee has been declining continuously for the last 70-80 years because the supply of the currency itself keeps increasing. The supply is taken care by the central bank. The central bank has complete autonomy and authority to talk about the financial system, the currency system, etc. And this, the cryptographic community wanted to change. They said that we can make a programmable blockchain-based currency which can replicate these instances. So when Satoshi Nakamoto talked about Bitcoin, he says that one, the supply of the Bitcoin will be capped. That is, you cannot increase the supply as you like. Since the supply is capped and it has an automated monetary policy, that is, every 10 minutes, certain amount of Bitcoin gets minted, and every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin that gets mined varies. So we know exactly what monetary policy works, and depending on the supply and demand, the price of the Bitcoin will either rise or get lowered. Since the supply is constant and the demand is increasing rapidly, Bitcoin is seen as a deflationary asset. That is, the value of the cryptocurrency will keep on increasing as and when the demand of that keeps on increasing. Whereas it is the exact opposite for the fiat currency, the government issued currency. As and when the supply keeps increasing, the value of the currency itself will keep decreasing. Today, if I want to save 1,000 rupees, I have to earn that 1,000 rupees and then I need to invest it in some stocks or options to ensure that the value which reduces gets offsetted by the returns that I get. The inflation part of it becomes a huge issue. So when Bitcoin says that you don't need to do all that, we are just a deflationary asset, it becomes an instant phenomenon. So from Satoshi's perspective, he wanted to bring a financial system without any third-party intermediary, which is decentralized, which is peer-to-peer, based on a consensus mechanism. He wanted a decentralized option instead of a centralized option. That was how Bitcoin was started in the year 2008, just 12-13 years ago, and in such a short time, the technology has been implemented by millions and millions of people. Let's get into that.